Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is February 27th. I am really happy that you're here today. Today, I want to take a look at how exactly it is that the GOP are coping with Trump and Trump's behavior as he continues to he continues to just believe his own press, right? And so this is the thing, and part of the reason I wanted to look at this is because politicians who have been in politics for a while, unlike Trump, have a fair bit of clarity about what happens when there is a national event that the White House, the president, the government is anticipated or expected to react to. And they don't react to it. They don't react to it well or appropriately. So this, of course, in part has to do with the coronavirus. Now, I'm not going to do a reading on that because, frankly, I think there's enough of it out there. I am going to make just a couple of very quick points. One, it is more serious than you think it is, okay? Especially people in America are not getting the correct or right information because Trump is lying through his teeth and he's sort of hamstringing everybody else, all right? So be mindful of where you're getting your information from. Sort of the World Association is probably better than the American Center for Disease Control. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying, though, that the information isn't quite as fulsome as it could be. And you really can't expect more from the government at this point because Trump is so preoccupied with the stock market because, of course, in his world, he associates a healthy stock market with a re-election. And he associates any sort of an economic downturn to putting him on shakier ground. And see, this is the thing with Trump, right? He doesn't care. He views everything through the lens of money. And so he doesn't care about the human suffering or the human toll or the pain and hurt. He doesn't care about any of it. All he wants is for the economy to be strong, and whatever that takes, well, he'll lie through his teeth to convince you that the economy is strong. And you know what? The economy isn't strong, you guys. The Dow has lost a lot. And you're not the only country, right? It's dropping all over the place because this is a global situation. This is a pandemic, whether you want to use that word or not. That's what it is. So just be mindful, check out, make sure you have some of the stuff on hand that you need to have on hand. And hopefully, when Trump loses the election, he's going to lose it because the stock market is in trouble and the economy is in trouble, as opposed to the fact that his selfish attitude and his hate of anything Obama, which caused him to shut down the organizations for, the government agencies that should be taking care of this. He literally disbanded them in 2018 because, they were Obama's idea and therefore they had to be shut down, destroyed, and gone. Well, guess what? That was exactly the organization that you really need right now, and it's not there. And you don't have the infrastructure there because, he didn't want that in place. So, just stay kind of on top of things. I know it's scary, but it's reality, okay? And again, the information is not accurate, okay? So, if that means you stock up a few extra rolls of toilet paper and you make sure that you have 30 to 45 or 90 days worth of your prescriptions, and maybe an extra, bag of rice and beans and tuna, that's not a bad thing, okay? So that's what I'm saying about that. I'm not going to go on and on about it. We all understand the fear that is created when people are threatened, whether they're health, their livelihood, their freedom. When those things are threatened, it creates a panic, and that creates fear and confusion. And we're going to try to pull back from that just a little bit. Okay, but I do want to take a look at the GOP because, again, like I said, there's a lot of politicians in the GOP who know exactly what happens when the government kind of screws up on a response like this. And because they have been so obliging to Trump and his insanity, they also were on the hook for this because nobody stopped him because nobody wanted to antagonize the guy. And well, guess what? Look exactly where that got you. And like I said, let's hope that he only doesn't get reelected because there's an economic downturn as opposed to the fact that literally this disease is killing off the very people that voted for him. All right, so I want to take a look at the GOP and exactly how they're coping. And not only with this, but with everything, with the crazy that comes out of Trump's mouth, the lack of knowledge, the lack of intelligence, the really stupid things he says. It's a really sad thing that the Republican Party is now in a position where they have to face and own the fact that they have a president who doesn't tell the truth. He lies about everything. And you know what? He lies about really important stuff. And this is another example of him lying about really important stuff because it's better for him if he completely ignores the fact that your Dow has lost, 2,000 points in the last 2 days. And something like, I heard this the other day, $1.7 trillion in the stock market in the United States in 2 days. He doesn't want to hear about it. He's going to lie. And because he wants that, he's also going to strong arm people to not tell you the truth. So let's take a look at the GOP and see exactly how they're coping with this guy that's sitting in the White House. He really reminds me of a snake oil salesman. He was always slimy, but as things have gone forward and he kind of really feels threatened, he really, really, he'll literally sit there looking up at the sky and say, the sky is polka dotted, and nobody will correct him. And so he gets away with it. Come on down. I have a question. Oh, by the way, before I forget, there is also going to be a Canadian political reading coming out. Either it's already out right before the release of this one or right after the release of this one. But if you're interested in that, it's right there. It's coming. Okay, so current GOP situation. Oh, wow. So I got a really strong impression as soon as I said that. And, literally what I heard was they are also in a very, very difficult place because they in some ways are in as much trouble and as much in cahoots or as obligated as Trump is to Putin. And so they have also sold their souls. And so there's a lot of them that really aren't going to be able to do a whole lot because the writing's kind of on the wall, right? Okay, so Mitch is having a hard time. They're all really, really scared of exposure. They're really terrified that more and more information is going to come to light, which of course it is. This is a world health crisis. You have elections going on. You have the primaries going on with the Democrats. There is just so much stuff going on right now. And the Republicans are going to have a lot to answer for because, why did they let this happen? right? Why are they letting him behave the way he does? And again, it's one thing if he's just lying and he's just stupid and, everybody's fed up with it and it's baked in the cake. This is, what's going on now is different. Your government is in turmoil, and the Democrats are sort of struggling to figure out how they're going to move forward with what they've got going on. And then you have literally a global threat. So there is a lot of anxiety going on within the Republican Party. And frankly, they deserve every bit of it. So who's the devil? Well, honest to God, there are so many devils going on that it's hard to actually know who the devil is. I want to say the GOP, I want to say Trump, and I want to say who they're controlled by, which unfortunately is not the people of the United States of America. So more and more information is going to be coming out. And this is just not about this global health threat. This is about what's going on behind the scenes in the White House. Again, the reporting is going to be fascinating in the next little while, because more and more people are going to start speaking up, almost if for no other reason than to try to distance themselves from the walking disaster that is the Trump administration. The strength that they have, the strength that they put into their re-election campaigns, into wonderful things happening for them, because they were walking behind Trump like, baby ducks follow their mother, that is going to be completely diminished. They're starting to realize that, there is a lot of work to be done, and they now are in a position where all they can do is sort of lament the fact that they didn't do it. And make no mistake, it's not like all of these people have had a come to Jesus moment. They haven't. There are a good number of them who are still completely focused on their assets, their position, their wealth, their power, their strength. And unfortunately, events are going to happen that are going to really transcend their petty concerns. And they're going to start to realize that, their greed is going to have them left out in the cold. So again, it still really feels like the Republican Party is in for quite the crash, okay? They're not going to be able to hold this together. It doesn't matter how hard they try, because things are starting to spin out of control so quickly. And like I said, there is going to be more information coming out about how the government is being run, what is going on behind the scenes. And not only is Trump going to continue to, not only is his rot going to become more and more apparent and more exposed, but so is theirs. And so it really sort of feels as if nobody's going to escape this unscathed. Wow, okay, so you have the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Swords. So what is this telling me? This is telling me that you have very intense emotions that are going to come to the surface, that are being brought to the surface. And with them, questions about how the company is being ruled, literally, by King Trump. And there's going to be a lot of anger about it. A lot. And not only is he going to be facing criticism and frankly rage from the Democrats, he is also going to start facing some rather serious pushback from his own Republicans, because they have a far better awareness and understanding of how bad things go when the government response is not appropriate. And I say this with true regret and sympathy for Puerto Rico. But the disasters in Puerto Rico, in some ways, even though it was an appalling appalling response. Unfortunately, there really is that sense of, oh, that's them. They're over there. They are other. And so, well, it wasn't good that he acted like a complete jackass, but, we're not talking about the mainland. And I'm sorry, I hate to have to say that, but that really was part of the attitude and the energy that went into that response, and why really people didn't get sort of as fired up as honestly they should have. I'm not even talking about morally should have. I'm just saying logistically and as a government that is supposed to be caring and keeping its people safe. So you can anticipate like some real fiery exchanges going on, because he is really going to come under attack. And the problem is that he's stupid and he doesn't know what he's talking about, and people can't trust him and people don't believe him. And so he gets up there and he rattles off and he speaks incoherently and he doesn't make any sense, and he tells you that everything's fine, and Kudlow tells you the market is fine, and they believe. They live in this ridiculous, kaleidoscope colored bubble where they actually think that somebody is listening to them and believing them. And the numbers of people who are listening and believing are diminishing and they're dwindling. The government is, they're going to do what they can to try to balance kind of some of the insanity and sort of almost like try to cover up where Trump has destroyed. There isn't really another word for it. Disassembled, destroyed, cut funding or diminished funding to not only the agencies that should be responding to this global threat, but to all kinds of things. And, they are starting to recognize, finally, they're starting to have some awareness, not all of them, some of them, that, wait a minute, we've gone a step too far, and now I don't know if I can actually secure my position. As much as I am afraid of some of the diehard Trumpsters voting me out, I am more afraid of my reputation. I am more afraid of how this is going to look for me. I am more afraid of my legacy than even him. Again, not a lot, but some. Oh, wow. Well, we definitely have some female energy coming at him for sure, eh? So, and again, is the GOP really concerned about the Weinstein verdict and whether or not Trump's going to probably think about pardoning him while he's pardoning Roger Stone? They're aware of the fact, again, that the demographic that Trump has the most problem with, he has a problem with every demographic, but one of the ones that is really a problem for him is that, suburban mom, okay? Well, you know what? Their family's safety and health is now threatened. Their family's financial security and stability now threatened. Messages are being sent out that people can do really terrible things and he's going to forgive them. And so what are they supposed to be teaching their kids? No one's above the law except the president and the president's friends. He is going to lose even more ground, which frankly, I'm not even sure that's possible. And when Trump loses ground, you know what? So do some of those GOP members. There's always going to be those ones that just honestly, it doesn't matter what you tell them. You can't speak fact to them because they don't want to hear facts. But again, you're going to start seeing a little bit of shifting under the sand. And you're going to start to see some of these Republicans getting really frightened of, again, that female power, the force behind women, whether it is the Me Too movement, whether it is just the force of divine feminine energy and the men that support them, whether it is just angry females, women, who just can't take anymore. And there sits the fool. There he comes. He really believes that he can snow this over. He actually really believes that he can convince people that the sky is polka dot. He really does. He thinks that if he says it a couple of times and says it loud, that people are just going to assume that he is correct. And nobody assumes that anymore. Nobody thinks that anymore, except a few lost souls who haven't been able to see clearly for 4 years now when it comes to him, and they're not going to start seeing him clearly next Tuesday. This is coming to an end for him. It really is. And there are days that it looks like it couldn't possibly happen. It looks like, there isn't somebody in a strong enough position to take him out, and there isn't, or that hasn't been decided yet. And there's a lot of energy brewing around that. But it is coming to an end. And people are scared to tell him that because, of course, he doesn't react well. But it is going to start crumbling on him. And, I just don't see how he is going to be able to rise above it. So again, a lot of money concerns, a lot of skeletons coming out of closets, and a lot of information coming out having to do with not having enough money, things connected to the stock market, for example, and how that has been manipulated for months because he didn't want a crash to happen, even though there was no reasonable expectation that it shouldn't. He has kept it afloat by forcing whatever he has done and however he has manipulated. There's going to be information coming out about that. There's going to be information coming about money coming from places that it shouldn't come from. And again, I continue to say there's going to be information coming out about Trump and his money personally and how he has made it and what he has done to make it and keep it. And you know what? There's lots of things that people are prepared to look past because the economy is doing well. Guess what? He just lost his feather in his cap. He just lost his go-to speaking point. As far as the GOP concerned, they're starting to actually, some of them, starting to recognize that, the writing's on the wall. We're going down, and we're going down hard. And there's anxiety, and the anxiety is building and it's increasing. And it really does go back to exactly what I said sort of at the beginning of this, where I talked about when people are threatened, when their health, their security, their livelihood, their freedom, when those things get threatened, the anxiety level ratchets up and everybody starts having a fear response. And that is where things get really out of control really, really fast. Because what happens is you get this acceleration, almost like of a mob mentality. And the GOP, for a long time, thought that sort of mob mentality, that blind loyalty, was really, really going to serve them. They're starting to realize that it's actually going to imprison them. And all of the dirty tricks in the world are not going to lessen the very, very heavy burden that they are carrying, because not only are they as corrupt as all get out, but their leader is. So this is interesting. You have the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Swords in very close proximity to each other. That doesn't bode well for anybody. Okay, that just does not bode well for the GOP. It doesn't bode well for Trump. And in some ways, it really doesn't even bode well for his supporters, because they believe him. They're really not being mindful of what is actually going on around them. And so when the shocks start coming, they're going to be completely and totally unprepared. So I don't know what the story is with Trump. I don't know if there's going to be some really harsh judgment, and that causes him to step back, step down. It causes him to have some sort of a health crisis. But he is not sitting safely on his throne. Okay, he's not. It's starting to really, really shift underneath him. And there doesn't feel like he's going to be able to get any significant traction and stop this. And because he can't, the GOP can't, because you know what? They are so tied to him. Here he is again. So this is the thing, right? When you tie yourself that tightly to somebody, you're no longer separate and distinct, right? It's not Mitch McConnell of Kentucky. It is Trump's Mitch. It is Trump's Lindsey Graham. It is Trump's Jim Jordan. It is on and on and on, okay? So they've tied themselves so tightly to him that when he goes down, they go down. There can't be another way, because it's, they're not standing beside him with their arms slung around his shoulder. They are literally fused together. They're bound. And so when one falls, they fall too. And they're going to put on a good face, and there's going to be some pushback, and there's going to be a lot of spin, and they're going to be trying to calm the waters. But guess what? There are so many secrets that they're keeping. There is so much going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. And I'm not only talking about this corona thing. I'm talking about the manipulation of the stock market. I'm talking about voter suppression. I'm talking about dirty tricks and dirty deeds going on. I'm talking about the exchange of dark money. There is so much going on that they're trying to keep secret. But you know what? At some point, it's going to explode. And the promise and the hope that they had for remaining in power, and more importantly, almost like for being able to continue to spin the crap and make people believe it, that's going out the window. Okay, there's not going to be enough to hold them together. And as a result, the people's dreams, the majority of the people in the United States, their wish is going to come true. Their hope is going to be recognized. And that which is in shadow falls. And a lot of what's in shadow, not surprisingly, is the White House and what goes on there. So, I guess the GOP are in for a wee little bit of a bumpy ride. Okay, so I just have one more thing that I want to share with you. I got a comment, I think I saw it yesterday morning, and it was sort of phrased as a question, and it was like, why do these evil, I'm paraphrasing, why do these evil people in power who have been so cruel and so destructive in the past, in other lifetimes, why do they keep coming around? And why do we have to keep dealing with them? And my reply, to this viewer, and my reply to you is sort of as simple as this. So I'm going to reference the Trump presidency to the last Tsar, Nicholas Romanov of Russia, okay? Just because for some reason I really resonate with that one, and so it's easier for me to put the picture together. So he was terrible when it came to controlling his army. He saw his people as peasants. He didn't understand. He lived in a bubble, and he didn't understand what was going on around him. Well, wow, that sure does sound familiar, doesn't it? So this is the thing. How many people that were the peasants, that were the serfs, that were hurt by him. And it took them a very, very long time to figure out that they actually had the strength to push back and say, that's it. I'm done with you. You need to be gone. And I am not promoting a revolution. How many of those people do you think right now are the very citizens of the United States? So not only has Trump been given the opportunity to correct behavior from the past that was appalling, and again, he's not doing a very good job of it, but people who have been hurt by him, people who stood by and let sort of his power run amok, they're also in the United States. And some of them are following him blindly. And some of you are pushing back. You're standing in your power and you're saying, you know what, enough is enough. We don't have to accept this. And so the country, the percentage of the country that is awake and paying attention, you are actually regaining your power and your control from other times when it has been stripped from you. And I also want to, so that's kind of the reason, that's sort of the answer or the explanation. And the other thing I want to say is you have to realize that there have been so many civilizations that it's not like there is a chosen few who get to be kings and queens and princesses and czars and emperors. Almost all of us have sort of some royalty or some connection to royalty within our past life experiences. These ones, though, just seem to be what we're dealing with now. This is what's going around, coming around right now. So if you think that you are one of the forgotten who are not being listened to or are not paying attention to, understand you have had, or most likely have had, your moment or your times in power. And you didn't screw it up. So you get to move on to the other side. You know, you get to see things from different perspectives, because the bottom line is that really is what our life experience is about, right? It's about having different experiences and coming to understand different perspectives and different realities. I hope that clarifies. All right, so as I said, look out for the Canadian political reading if you're interested in that. And until next time, take care, be well, and I'll see you really, really soon. Bye-bye.